no two Christmases have looked the same for us in 20 years. And I've always joked that that's kind of like, that's our tradition, is that there is no tradition. Like, we've spent Christmas in hotels. It just depends on the year. I think for us, what's most important is that as a family, we're together.
Let go. Hey, okay, I know I'm here to stay. Counting on my wins, so I can't play it safe. Try to go against us, get you out the way. Go hard, it's the only way to play. Let me say, I'm a trendsetter. I'm a go-getter. I'm a trendsetter. I'm a go-getter. I'm a trendsetter. Who can do it better? I'm a go-getter. I'm a trendsetter. Hey, look.
Welcome back to another episode of Sportsy. Cheers, people. Cheers. So we are very excited because today we have a special guest.
Woohoo! Yay! We're super juiced and excited to have her. Everyone, please welcome entrepreneur, mom, wife, friend, Jada Paul. Welcome back to Sportsing, you guys, where we as women give you a perspective of sports as from a mom's perspective, a fan's perspective, and an athlete's perspective. We are here not to yell at you, but really just to break down sports. So if you do not know Jada Paul, let us quickly introduce you. She's an entrepreneur. She just recently started her stationery line called Alexis P. We'll dive into that. She is mom to beautiful, my babies, little Chris Paul and Cameron Paul, and wife to the awesome Chris Paul. So we're going to just get into it. We're going to dive in. How are you?
Yes,
How's
first
it
and
going?
foremost.
I am great.
Okay. Okay. There's a slight hesitation for those who noticed it. That's a question mark, but we're here. Well, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Yes, thank you. We're super excited to have you. We're just going to dive into some questions.
Okay, let's do
Jada
it.
is an amazing open book and has never had a filter in a good way. And this is why we often get along, because when we start talking, we're like, "Oh, Lord, help us."
Okay, so before we get into before we get into the questions, though, I want to talk about you guys' friendship. You guys have been friends for a very long time and whatnot. Going back to, did it start in the Clipper days or was it pre that?
So. Yeah, we had known, we had seen each other a couple times just because we played, we were on the Lakers. When I was we were on the Lakers, and then so we would see them, you know, through the tunnel and all the things because we shared the same arena. And then when we became teammates, real teammates, I was that's when we really hit it off.
Sure. And I'll say the boys definitely
pulled us together.
If she and I ever drift apart, not because we don't like each other, but life happens. Yeah. They always bring us back together.
Yes, because your boys grew up together.
They're thick as thieves. They literally grew up together. Yeah, thick as thieves.
They're pretty hilarious. And little Chris calls me mom. My boys call her mom, and they're always like, "Hey, mom." And to Jada's point, she's gone to Houston. We'll talk about that. She has been. She's now in San Antonio. She's been in the Bay. This girl has been on. She has traveled the
West Coast or the Western Conference. We've touched the Western Conference.
And no matter what, Isaiah, Carter, and Chris have been
I love that.
Yes. And they, in their own minds, have thought they were going to go to the same schools together and do all the things.
Yeah. I'm not sure that's still not a thing.
Going to happen. Look, we're always here for it.
I mean, listen, might as well keep your brothers around you. People they can trust and do their thing as they go to campus.
And hold you accountable.
Yes.
That part.
I love that about them. Yeah. And they have a great friendship. So we've known each other now. Well, our boys, we were just talking about, are 16.
Which is crazy.
Little Chris will be 16
and a half.
Yes. She refuses to let him live and be 16 enough.
You hold on to the very last second.
Holding on to it for dear life.
I don't blame you. I do not blame you. The boys are like, not yet, Mom. I'm like, but. So, gosh, 13 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were 3, 4, the oldest.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll show you guys some pictures. I have some super cute
I was just
pictures.
telling her, I sent Chris because for their birthday, he wants to do a post. I was going through old pictures. He's like, Mom, your photo reel is the GOAT. I said, I've got some gems
pictures.
of all of them. So I can't wait to see what post he comes up with.
Oh, good. Yeah. I have I need some to steal from you then because I feel like I lost a few pictures. So I only have 6.
I got you.
But they're thick as thieves.
I love it. That's wonderful. We love to hear it.
Yes.
Okay. So you have your stationery line, Alexis P. Talk to us about how it came about, where the name comes from, the whole shebang.
You know, it's crazy. I am a person I've always wanted to create.
Sure.
I've invented 17 different things like over the course of time, because I'm always like trying to fulfill a need. And so when Cameron was turning 4, I love to throw parties. G can attest to this. Like I love an event. I love a theme, all the things. So I was doing Cameron's 4th birthday, and I went to Barnes & Noble looking for a party planning planner so I could write all the stuff in one place, because I'm also very type A. And I had stuff written on backs of
notes and
just stuff everywhere. It didn't exist. So I decided then to create it. I'm like, well, I'll make my own. Insert, Chris gets traded to Houston. Life got in the way. So all that stuff kind of just got put on the back burner. And then when we came back home, COVID, and we're at the house, everybody's bored. The kids are doing remote learning. So I'm like, let me pull this stuff back out. So I literally went on Canva, because in my mind, I'm a graphic designer.
There you go.
And like made like a very, very, very rough draft. And somebody said to me, like, people could actually use this.
Yeah.
So I actually had like a prototype made. It was really amazing. I was so excited about it, because even if nobody ever saw it, it was like my brain was able to be put on paper.
Yeah, put it down and create.
So once I did that, I had a friend of mine, Carmen, was like, I need this, but like for my long-term projects.
Okay.
So, she does Chris's Foundation stuff. So she wanted things that are more, because most parties happen over the course of a month, month and a half. But she wanted something for like our foundation dinner that it takes months to plan. Right. So I created more of a project-based planner, literally for Carmen.
Okay.
And then the third product in our line is a journal. And of course, during COVID, everybody's journaling. Everybody's got all the emotions and feelings. It's actually called All the Feels is the name of the journal. I was talking to a mom from school. The kids had a flag football game. Of course, we're still all wearing masks. But she's talking to me, like she ended up confiding in me that she was sick. And I remember after our conversation, walking away from her, wanting to pray for this woman. Like I felt heavy, and I just wanted to write. And I'm like, I needed some work. But also, type A, I want to organize my thoughts. So the journal we created is more like a guided journal, but not in the traditional sense. Like it's like kind of subdivided based on the things that we all go through, whether it's like finances or, mental health or friends and family. So you can kind of like organize your thoughts.
Okay.
Or if there's a scripture or a quote that resonates, you can write it down and reference back to it, or read the book a year from now. I'm like, oh man, like look where I was versus where I am now. So it was very cool. I've always loved stationery, pens, pencils, stickers, clips, all the things. So it just felt right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We grew up in the Sanrio
Lisa
era.
Frank.
Did you?
I was a Lisa Frank girl.
There you go. Okay.
What?
Absolutely.
When you had to cover your book with the paper back,
yes.
You know what I mean? You got to design
covers.
Girl, what? Let me tell you,
Absolutely.
those papers came out. I loved it.
That's
so,
awesome.
but the name Alexis P.
Yeah.
So my name is I'm Jada Alexis Paul, obviously. And my daughter is Cameron Alexis. She and I have the same middle name. And Cameron is also a creative. Like she has in her 12 years of life has created a clothing line. She's been an architect. Like she, all the things. So I wanted to create a space where her creativity could live as well.
Sure.
And so since she and I share the same name, it just felt right. So whenever she decides to create her own business, it kind of live under the umbrella of the thing. So this first branch is curated by Alexis P. Stationery. The next branch could be like literally whatever either she or I dream of. It could live. So
that's awesome.
Isn't it cute?
Yeah.
I told little Chris felt slight. I'm like, if you want to create, we'll throw something there.
We got you. You'll be all right.
He was like, what about me? I'm like, I've never seen you create a single thing. Not like a,
in this realm. Yeah, exactly. But now all of a sudden you want to be on it. That's dope though, because it's such a great way to empower her already.
Yes.
To be able
which was equally important. I think for me starting a business, I think with Chris's career, like I made a conscious choice to stay home with the kids. Sure. And I feel like creating a safe, like a stable ground for them, but also for him as he traveled and all those things. So it was a choice that I made and I don't regret it. I would do it 10 times over.
Okay.
But now that the kids are older and they're not checking for me like they used to. You know what I mean? So like,
girl, let me tell you.
I figure it was my time to kind of do my own thing and like, find a space where I could live. Exclusive of Chris, you know what I mean? So we've done things over the years, but they've always been like collaborative as like husband, wife. But I wanted something that was like mine that could live. And I thought for me, it was important for my daughter specifically to see what it looked like.
Yep.
I mean, because I grew up, my mom worked in law enforcement. So I grew up with a very strong female figure. And I feel like it was a lot of how I became to be who I am. And I wanted my daughter to be able to see and experience that as well.
Yeah, I love
that's huge.
that.
And also her mom, Miss Jackie, is like one of one.
That's right.
Absolute goat.
My mom is a fan favorite. She's a fan favorite. She's a hot mess. That's my girl.
I know.
That's
love her. Absolutely love that. Talk to us a little bit about becoming an entrepreneur. To your point, like a lot of our audience struggle with this balance of, you know, mom, like being a mom, being available for your kids, but also being a wife, but without losing yourself. You know what I mean? So like that becomes such a hard way to balance. Talk to me a little bit about that journey in you.
It's a delicate balance, trying to make time for everyone and make sure everyone feels fed, seen, you know, all the things. I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think even right now in this current season, I find myself like Alexis P has kind of taken not a back seat, but it's kind of slowed down a little bit as I'm trying to readjust now with Chris on a new team. The kid, like Chris just went to high school and made the varsity team, which has been a whole thing.
I love it.
But his schedule is demanding, so just trying to make time. But I know that because it's my business, I can kind of do it at my own pace.
Okay.
So there's no like real sense of urgency. But also being 100% honest, like being a new business, it's been relatively slow. Which I'm not upset about because it gives me a chance to kind of like reel it back in, reassess, and maybe, you know, and redo some things. And kind of do it at my own pace. So it's been nice. Like I think I've been able to find the balance, but it's always changing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
a lot of people have found that like starting a business, to your point, you mentioned it being slow, it's a new business, you know, that kind of thing, but like measuring their level of success.
And also giving yourself grace.
Yes.
I had to remind myself, it's been a year.
Right.
Like,
and things don't
in
reality that
take
is
years, you know what I mean? To scale. And so but I'm very like
right now.
You want the instant
hello,
results.
And so having to remind myself, because I'm very instant gratification.
Okay.
But having to give myself grace and remind myself it's only been a year. It's still very young, and you know, but I can take my time and find, you know, the different avenues to grow it.
Build it out for what works for you
and
whatnot.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that.
So with that, because I know you touched on just kind of like taking the time to be in the home, make sure the kids are straight, kind of working around the distance and the scheduling and all that type of stuff. First question I want to ask is, what do you think is kind of the biggest misconception around being married to a professional athlete?
There's so many.
There's plenty. Obviously, we can
we can talk all day.
Exactly. But if you wanted to speak to something.
The most obvious would be that it's easy. I've got friends from back home that are like, oh my God, your life is so perfect. Like, you don't have to worry about a thing. Girl, what?
Excuse me?
I think it's the same, whether I'm married to an NBA superstar or the UPS man. We all going through the same shit. You know what I mean? So like, but I think it's different scales to it, of course. Of course, there's cameras in our faces and there's all people always want to speculate because it's a public relationship. But I mean, it's not much different than, you know. I think that's the biggest thing, that it's not easy. But also, like, he's just a normal guy.
You
know? So I think that it's always fascinating to see, like, how people glorify these athletes.
And you're like, Derek, if you don't just go make the food,
take the trash out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm fussing and take the trash out. Like, it's the same things that, like, because they're regular people. I think that's the biggest misconception. I'm trying to think.
I mean, there are, to your point, like the travel, like people would assume because we get to travel, because we get to be home, because they have money. So they think like that it's just so much easier, that it just makes our problems so much easier.
It's so interesting because I actually went on a road trip with him last week. They went to, it was literally, I went for one game. I don't know how these guys do it. Like they play these games. They leave, they take off at 11, 12 o'clock at night. They fly to a new city and get in at 3 a.m. Like, and then have to get up and perform the next day. I'm gonna say I slept. I was like,
the nights, nights.
What?
I don't know how they do it. How these guys, how they sustain for all these years, because like, it's a big toll that it takes on their bodies. Just aside from the actual physical part of their jobs. All other things. But it's just...
It is. And I would speak to a little bit about them just being human too. A lot of people don't give them the grace of like, they are in normal relationships, right? So we argue, you know what I mean? Kids have issues. Like, you know, there are things that you have to deal with, but they're still expected to get up and perform at 100%. You know what I mean? They don't know that they stayed up.
75%.
There's
a fan up there screaming, hooting and hollering.
Right.
Why are we paying you so much money?
And the fantasy, you killed my fantasy.
About that.
We were talking about the sports betting because it's wild
It
now.
is crazy, but they don't care that you're, you know, maybe your baby has colic. You know what I'm saying? And that you were up at night. Like, they don't care. They don't, you know, I think it was a reality for us, Derek and I, when he speaks to Tatum's journey and when she had cancer and how he would leave the doctor's office and go straight to, you know, the games and would be expected to, without skipping a beat. people, fans were like, "How you just gonna miss that shot?" And it was like.
Just last night, there was a fan saying something crazy, and I'm like, "What if I came to your job and just screamed and said
screaming, like just right here, right here?"
Yeah, these people, they're very human.
Yeah. I mean, I say it all the time. I'm like, well, one of these motherfuckers up and punch your ass in the face,
it's gonna be a problem.
Then y'all gonna cry and want to sing and want to sue and all that. Like, come on, man.
Then
like,
they're quick to sue. Yes. Yes, amen.
Nobody got time for none of that.
Which also actually speaks to another point because they also have to hold themselves to a different standard.
True.
With all of that.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing that people don't consider. Like having the self-control and having to stay poised through all
the time, no matter what's being said to them and their family members. Right? Because you guys are in the audience, you're dealing with it, you guys are public figures of your own, people know who you are, you're there. So that's a whole thing too, right?
In Dallas a couple of years ago during playoffs. And this fan was heckling my mother-in-law. It was Mother's Day.
Oh, shoot.
And she's super, my mother, Miss Robin, is like, she's the sweetest
best
person. And this guy was heckling her, and she's just kind of like laughing it off. And then he starts to touch her.
Oh God, no, wrong
and
answer.
So then, of course, I had to step in. It turned into a whole thing. But I'm like,
the audacity.
Like, why?
Why are you?
People's entitlement is bananas.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yes, no, it's bananas. And lastly, to finish, just to kind of wrap up a little bit about that, the talking to the access that we have, right? People would assume that it's again our life is easy because of the access or the support, and the people are like, well, y'all fly first class or y'all have a nanny, you have that you. Let me explain something to y'all. Okay, if you want it, you can you could have it because the reality of dealing with the the consequences, I guess, of kind of being public facing is just sometimes it's not worth it.
It's interesting. It's funny. Even
sometimes you're like
something as simple as holiday celebrations.
Yeah,
no two Christmases have looked the same for us in 20 years. And I've always joked that that's kind of that's our tradition. Is that there is no tradition.
Yeah,
we've spent Christmas in hotels. It just depends on the year.
Yeah.
I think for us, what's most important is that as a family we're together.
Sure.
And no matter where we are, that's what it is. And so the kids, and it's kind of a cool thing. For me, I'm also very much let's go. I'm very, fly by seat of my pants, but it's a lot. And sometimes I remember maybe 10 years ago, I remember thinking to myself, sometimes it would be nice if we both just work regular jobs.
Yes. Just have a 9 to 5
on Sunday, and have the 2 kids and the dog, and just live a very simple and plain life. It would, you know what I mean? Because I never imagined this as my life.
Sure.
We're both from the same hometown, small town, and this is never my life. You know what I mean? So sometimes I'm like, damn, I want to be if we
just kind of living, kind of doing things. Yeah. Well, I was wondering that because I know you guys do come from the same town and all of that. Even the transition from just kind of normal college life, all of that to NBA, and Chris in particular, we are helping new fans get into sports fandom. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Chris is a future Hall of Fame level player. Yes. So he's one of the bigger names in the NBA. He's been a president and of the Players Association. He's that guy. And so it's one thing to date an athlete, right? And then you guys kind of go from college and then he goes into the NBA and you're kind of oh, shoot, we're in the NBA. It's a whole nother thing to date a superstar, right? So biggest transition from college days and kind of what it was, or thing that you had to kind of adjust to with.
You know what's crazy? I don't think I realized Chris was a superstar until probably
you're last year.
Right, exactly.
I would say maybe 5 years since his first All-Star.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh shit!
this is exciting.
I know we were going to talk about it later, but I feel like I was never a basketball fan until I met Chris. I never really watched basketball. I grew up in a football house. My dad's a diehard Steeler fan, and so I know they're doing well this year. So
don't play me.
But not until I went to my first basketball game when me and Chris started dating when he was in college. You know what I mean?
Really?
So I literally learned. I'm still learning stuff about basketball because I was just never, and not having kids that play is the whole thing. But I didn't realize how big of a deal he was until maybe that first All-Star.
Okay. Did that change you a little bit? Did that change your approach, or you know what I'm saying?
No, because I go home with this man every night and he's so silly and you know what I mean? He's still the same person that I met.
That's
20 years
ago.
He
hasn't changed.
He hasn't changed a whole lot. I mean, we've all, of course, gotten older, mature, but he's still the same goofy, telling corny jokes, you know what I mean?
Sure.
He's been this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think we kind of grew into it together. And I will say, even now in year 20,
They've been together 20 years, y'all. Since literally we've mentioned, but since college.
It'll be 20, almost 21 years. So NBA's its 20th season,
which is crazy.
19. It's crazy.
That is wild.
But it's crazy. So I will say I just took a seat on the board for the NBWA, the Wives Association.
Hey, congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you.
Clearly,
she's like,
right. She's like, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But I said this to say, like, I don't think I realized how people view me.
Yes.
Because I'm just Jada. Like, I'm from Winston-Salem. Like,
yes.
Just Jada. Like,
that's interesting. Do you
a
feel
regular
like you
black
have
girl, like, got nappy hair. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
I don't see myself the way people see me. You know what I mean?
That's interesting.
And so I walk into these rooms and people are like, oh, that's Jada Paul. And I'm like, hey, girl.
Right.
I don't see it that way.
Yeah.
And so I think that was a realization for me. And I was like, oh, this is actually kind of weird.
Yeah.
Because
do you love
I'm
it or hate it?
I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't love it. I think that I want people to treat me just like Jada.
Okay.
Because it's just going to be easier that way. Because that's what you're going to get.
Period.
Yeah. But it's also interesting to see some of my counterparts
kind of move differently.
That's a great way to put it.
That's a great way to
That's
say
a great way to put it.
because I knew exactly what she was like. Because, they, I was like, they move different.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And I'm just super like,
okay.
I'm here. I'm chilling.
I might have on makeup. I might have combed my hair. We don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
I used to tell her all the time because, like, I am actually a sports girl, as we know, and I'm like actually into, like, I'm a real life Clipper fan, right? So, like, going to the games with her, I'm like, listen, that's cool, and like, I get y'all got to do y'all little catwalk and do the thing. I don't give a fuck. I want to wear my tennis shoes. Yes. I want to scream and do my thing. I will say this. And we've been on our fair share of teams. Every team culture is different. Okay.
I will say I'm grateful that Chris played for the Clippers, not the Lakers, because the culture was very different. So the Clippers, you could come in your sweats if you wanted. You know what I mean? Whereas the Lakers is always, the organization is very like,
glamour.
You gotta
and just do a thing.
Be a certain way.
But even so, by the time we got to Houston, I'm wearing fan gear. I've never worn a jersey. You know what I mean? But like, let's go Rockets. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is. And so now, season 20.
Girl, let me tell you, if you're welcome. That I'm just here.
I will say, in Phoenix, I felt a little more like,
a little more
razzle dazzle.
Really?
But then it was crazy with the Warriors. You would think the same thing. Yeah. But the girls there, they had their team. They're super chill. They had their team gears. I was like, oh, am I doing too much? You know what I mean? So it's just every organization is different in the code, and what I appreciate it.
Sure.
So even now with the Spurs, of course, I'm also having a very hard time being the oldest because Chris's teammates.
You're officially the veteran wife.
I'm the old bitch at this point.
So
it's funny because the girls in the team, they're young, their kids are super young, and they come to the. And I remember coming to the kids, game with kids. They got on sneakers,
gather
I remember those days.
Diaper bag.
It's just different now.
Do they come to you for advice?
Ooh, good question.
Sometimes. Occasionally.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you what threw me off.
Okay.
I had one of the girlfriends call me Miss Jada, and I said, ma'am,
let me tell you what you're not going to do.
Exactly.
I am not that old.
Correct.
Let's reel that back in.
Real quick. I cannot.
But it was very jarring. I was like,
wait a minute.
It was a very realization.
Yeah.
I was like, I am the old. And it's crazy because I remember, again, being around for so long. When we were in Oklahoma the first time, right after Chris got drafted, Bobby Jackson was his vet. And his now ex-wife, Donia, and I are still very close. But I remember he was throwing her a 30th birthday party. At this point, I'm like 19, 20.
Right.
And I remember, I was like, oh my gosh, she's so old. Like, I remember thinking that to myself at 30. But I was like, 21 is the oldest. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, okay. And so, like, fast forward over the years.
30.
I remember, again, when Chris was in New Orleans, Rudy Gay's wife, Echo, and I are super close. So when we were young, so when Chris would go on the road, I would go to Memphis to hang out with Echo. We used to tear Memphis up.
Okay? That's right.
And so I remember getting off the plane in Memphis, and Tasha Stoudemire is walking through the airport in this floor-length fur coat.
I'm dying.
Right? Yes. And I was like, oh, okay, girl. Right. So then at the game that night, she's sitting up in the stands, like literally by herself, with her sunglasses on, like, why am I here? But I remember I'm super young, so I'm like, oh, okay. Fast forward to me in Oklahoma City when Chris went back to Oklahoma City. I'm literally at the game sitting there by myself like, what am I doing?
Correct.
How did I get here?
Right, exactly.
And that's when I realized, like,
TV.
oh, that's me now.
Yeah.
And so obviously him still playing is a blessing. Like, it's, I'm not complaining by any stretch. It's just interesting to watch like the shift over the years because now I'm just like, oh, okay.
Like, woo, anyway. You're like, isn't Greg's Anatomy?
Right. I definitely still watch. I'm up to date on Grey's. I've seen all the seasons.
Oh, I fell off. I'm trying to catch up. I know. I'm catching up. Yeah.
I've seen all 75 seasons.
And 3,000
Shout out to Shonda
episodes.
Rhimes.
Amen. I just finished Bridgerton.
Oh,
Queen Charlotte. I just finished that
binged
one.
those a couple months ago.
Yes.
That's good stuff.
Queen Charlotte was...
Queen Charlotte. I want them to do another one. I know, like, the story kind of ended, but, like, I need another one.
I feel like it didn't. Like, I need... It's such a great love story.
It was great.
I got to get into it. I haven't gotten into it.
It's really good. You'd like it. I got into Shrinking because of you.
Shrinking is amazing on Apple TV. It is so good. Definitely check it out. It's about this therapist who lost his wife.
Yeah.
And so, but he's still, like, working through his own stuff while still trying to help his patients.
Yeah, and his daughter.
So
good.
Oh, that sounds
brilliant.
Good.
Television.
It's very cute.
Yeah, Apple TV be doing a thing.
They do. They're doing a thing for sure.
Go ahead, Apple
we have
TV.
shows for you. Take one.
Anywho.
In the social media age that we are in. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use social media? And two, how do you deal with it with the kids and all that?
So I think that we're the first generation to kind of really experience social media. I remember Facebook came out when I was in college, which is crazy.
What happened to MySpace? Don't skip over MySpace.
I don't think I had a MySpace. I knew about it, but I didn't have a MySpace account. I think I went straight to Facebook.
Okay.
I had Top 8.
Instant Messenger.
What? And Top 8 was a serious thing on
because you was getting rotated out if you was on my nerves.
Correct. And you had to think about it because you knew you were going to have a phone call if you moved to Top 8. Okay, back. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. But when Facebook was just college students, right? So I remember, so I was like the Facebook OG, right? And so I had a Facebook account. I used to post everything about my whole entire life on Facebook. And then going to the NBA, I don't remember what it was called. There was this website that used to be, it was like a gossip website. Okay. But it was about, you could type in any player's name.
Oh.
And there was like a chat. I forget what it was called.
Okay.
When I tell you, they used to tear me down.
Really?
Lipstick Alley.
It wasn't Lipstick Alley. It was another one. I'm gonna think
that was kind of in that
I'm
vein.
so mad that I just said Lipstick Alley in public. Delete that. Don't give them no shout
don't give them no.
Stupids. Anyway.
No, I forget what it was called, but I'm talking about these women in New Orleans. I was the scum of the earth. Like they had anything that you could have said about me.
Really?
Just, it was crazy. So that's when I was like, that was the first exposure I had to like hateful comments and things like that. And Christians, I was like, why do you read this shit? And I'm like, well, it's also fascinating.
Right.
Because I'm curious what people think. I mean, at that age, of course, you care.
Correct. Yes.
And then I didn't get on Instagram until I was pregnant with Cameron.
Okay.
Which is crazy because that was still 12 years ago or 13 years ago. But I used to post a lot. Because Instagram wasn't as big. Obviously, it was new. You know what I mean? So I used to post a lot.
Yeah.
And then people just have too much access and too many opinions. Yeah. And it's a lot of pressure to feel like, oh, I have to post something so people are thinking about me. Or like, so now I really have a hard time with social media. Like, I want to post because I do cool things and I got cool shit to share.
Right.
Sure. But at the same time, like, it's a lot of pressure. Like, damn, I got to post by a certain time.
Yes.
You got to
and you know what
come
comes
up with
it.
a caption.
Yeah. And I'm also really, if I don't post it in that moment, once the moment has passed, I don't care no more.
Yes. And do the kids have their own?
Well,
so
I just want to say I'm an advocate for little Chris having gotten an Instagram. Because we just
she's that
he's like, Mom, can you talk to Mom about and I was like, I'm on it.
So little Chris, of course, he has almost 500,000 followers on Instagram. He had a page. Okay. Again, he does cool stuff. I've shared on his Instagram. So I was always running his Instagram.
Sure.
So all the posts you saw up until 3 months ago, all me.
Okay. Yay. Enter copying.
Yes. So Big Chris and I had a conversation about it. Because Cameron has one too. But again, I run her Instagram. She's 12.
Sure.
Yeah, she's 12. Chris and I had a conversation. Chris had TikTok.
Little
Chris had a TikTok.
Ooh.
And it was one of those things like you get, for us, give it to them, see how they deal with it.
Got it.
If you abuse it, it gets taken away.
Okay.
So the agreement for Chris on TikTok was for him to have because TikTok was fun. The kids were dancing and like they were social, especially during COVID with their friends, whatever. So the agreement was that his page had to be private.
Okay.
And I mean, I have a TikTok. I don't even know how to work it.
Yeah, like, I think I've posted once.
So this is a funny story. So during COVID, that first year when we were with the Suns, Chris got COVID for the first time after the Denver, they swept Denver.
Yeah.
And then we played, I think the Lakers, whoever was in the second round. So Chris got COVID in between the 2 rounds. And luckily they swept him because he had time in between the 2 rounds, whatever. So he's home, but he's like staying in the guest house, whatever. So we're all outside, and little Chris did a socially distanced TikTok, some dance that was like some craze that was going on TikTok. And we laughed about it, went back inside. We were watching playoffs was on, watching basketball. By halftime of the next game, the video they had done was on ESPN. And we sitting there like,
wait a minute.
How did they get this video? Cut to little Chris's page is on little private. He got like 200,000 followers. Who are these people on your TikTok? So I was like, okay,
cool.
And I think it was just a thing like the kids are young.
Sure.
And there was another situation where some guy kept like checking his phone, checking the time, and he was running up to his room. Long story short, some gamer had prompted little Chris, proposing to be a child, to live stream them playing 2K. It was a grown man somewhere in like Indiana, beat the shit out of him in 2K. And the caption was, I just beat Chris Paul's son. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he used little Chris to like, but little Chris is a kid and he has no idea. You know what I mean? So we decided, okay, you know what? You can't handle this. So we took it away. So that was a thing. So Chris and I agreed that he could choose one platform when he started high school.
Okay.
And then he chose to reclassify. So that was the funny thing because last year, he would have started high school last year, but he chose to reclassify.
Right.
So you're like,
Right. One more year, bro.
Sorry.
So all summer it was a thing. And so we kept asking, which platform are you going to choose? And he wanted Snapchat. I said, but you can't have that one. So
we need to be able to verify.
I said, pick another one. So he went back and forth between TikTok and Instagram. I'm like, if it's me making a suggestion, it's Instagram because it kind of has the same functionality. You can still do the same thing with the reels and all that. It's still kind of very similar.
Yeah.
So we got it. I gave him his Instagram, and here we are.
So far, so good.
But still having to have the conversations about being careful about what you like.
Right.
Yeah.
Because people see that name pop up.
Yes.
You can't, and I think it's harder because his dad is still an active player.
Yes.
So like he still has to walk into the locker rooms with these guys that y'all want to clown on. You know what I mean? Like you can't do that thing.
Yeah.
Does he understand? Do you feel like he
understands? He does a couple of bonehead things, but he's a teenager, so we expect it. But it's always a constant conversation.
Okay.
Just being mindful of what you're posting or what you're liking and all those things. But now we're in this space where brands want to send him stuff.
Being endorsed.
Like, okay, are they going to pay you for it?
Right. Because what are we doing?
Thank you.
And so, but also they're giving out our address. They want to send stuff. So I'm like, just managing those things and just having them be aware. Because again, there's a lot of access and a lot of just exposure in general. But so far, so good. Knock on wood.
The boys still get made fun of because they have to get approval for the apps that they buy.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, and their kid, their friends,
for no other reason,
their
you're not going to run on my credit card. If for no other reason.
A, and B, what is this? What is this authenticator snap? But what is that?
Yeah,
like, you don't need this. And it's $12.99 for what? So they get made fun of.
You can't have it. Or you can pay me back for it.
I'm on that. I'm like, well, I'll just deduct it from your little funds because $12.99 is crazy.
My God,
is why, and it's a month. Oh,
yeah.
Tell you
it's
something.
A subscription?
Yeah, like what? No. Yeah, no. Someone they were like, Mom, they make fun of us. I was like, well, too bad for them. Their parents clearly don't care.
So funny story the other day. So little Chris never had a DoorDash, Uber, that kind of thing. So like now that he's in high school playing basketball, he's at school all day. So he wants to like get food after school. Okay. So I added him to my DoorDash account.
Okay.
God help you. Right.
He wants to feed the whole block.
Correct. Oh. That is my thing. We are not.
I tried to rationalize it. Like if these boys were at my house, I would feed them.
True.
So yes, but however, every day.
Correct.
Or he's at Jamba Juice, he'll get an acai bowl, a smoothie, and a waffle. What are you doing with all of this? Like, you just spent $45 at Jamba Juice.
Let me tell you, this is funny because this happened to me yesterday. I sent the boys to Jamba Juice after I picked them up from practice.
The whole menu.
They had 4. They each had 2 smoothies. They each had 2 acai bowls, and they each had 2 waffles. And I was like,
the waffles must be fire. I haven't had a waffle from Jamba Juice.
The waffles are fire.
He be tearing them waffles.
But you have to make sure they warm them up.
Ooh, I miss the days I didn't have to worry about spending money.
Let me tell you, but it was a $47 tab.
Yes, on your tab. I miss
it's Raising Cane's.
And then they used my points. I was like, no, you did not use my rewards and my money. I was like, time out. Who does that?
I gave him. He's like a little debit card. So I created his own DoorDash account.
Okay.
I gave him an allowance. Whatever you get, whatever in this week before your allowance resets.
Yes.
I said on the weekends, I mean, obviously I'm your parent. I have to feed you.
Sure.
But all this extracurricular stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I'm good.
Not doing all that.
The 2K, the virtual currency.
Right. Yes.
Absolutely not.
You better ration these little dollars out.
Tell you.
So this is interesting because I'd imagine people are curious about this too, because you guys as kids are growing up in privilege, obviously. How do you keep them grounded? How do you make sure that they understand reality outside of, what could be a bubble that, you guys have the privilege to exist in?
Yeah, no, I admit all the time that the boys live in a bubble within a bubble within a bubble.
Sure.
And it is a struggle every day because every day you are like these kids are so spoiled and da-da-da. But then you're also the one, they're like, well, we need a ride. You're like, oh, okay. Well, let me cancel everything I have to do to make sure you get there on time.
Right.
My mom was like, there goes some quarters. The bus comes in about 15 minutes.
Right.
We had a $5 allowance and a bike.
It's a struggle. I think that Chris and I are always talking about it too, which is why the debit card thing was important. Like at this point, like you are 3 years removed from the real world.
Yeah,
you have got to figure out how to budget and how to, you know what I mean? Because as parents, you work to give your kids what you didn't have.
Of course.
We have all superseded that goal.
Times 10.
Because of course we come from humble beginnings. So these kids just don't even have a clue.
Yes.
And so Chris, this morning Chris and I'm talking about it, like how just
it's hard.
Constant conversation. They be sick of it. They get sick of hearing us talk about it. But like you have to figure, you're 3 years removed from the real world.
Yes.
Like, you have got to figure out just from finances, just the idea of hard work. Because by the way, the NBA might not work out for you. So then what?
Yeah.
Like, there are 450 active players, and there's billions of people who play basketball.
Correct. Yes.
So what's your plan B?
Yes.
Because it might not work out for you.
Right.
It's
hard. We talked about that when Derek was on a little bit in terms of plus these kids have access to things that old adults have, right? So they have the same shoes, the same phones, sometimes the same, cars. You're like, so it is difficult.
My son told me he was buying his own car with his NIL money. I said, oh, okay.
Well, excuse the hell out of us. Also, clock that. I'm
going
to remember that.
With the NIL deal that he does not have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, no, legit.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and we live in separate households. So the boys, they've had to since, because they also know that I will literally knock their teeth out, be like, well, originally when Matt and I first separated, it was like, well, I'll just tell dad, or I'll just ask dad, or I'll just get, and you're like,
yeah. I bet the fuck you will.
Because also, I don't talk to your daddy.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay. So yeah, it's a struggle, but to Jay's point, every day. And there is, that's why when they complain about washing the dishes or taking out the trash, I mean, they're it's like,
right. Y'all got it messed up.
You guys got this whole situation fucked up.
Yeah. Did you consider that when deciding to name Chris after Chris? And if there would be any pressure around that?
No, yes and no.
Okay.
So initially, Chris's name, he was Cameron Elijah.
Okay.
His name was picked out. So CP3, I don't know if you know, but he's the third. So his dad is Charles Edward Paul. His brother is Charles Edward Jr. And then he's Christopher Emmanuel. So he's the third of the CP.
Yeah.
So they wanted to keep the thing going. So he was Cameron Elijah. And so I got to be about 7 months pregnant. And Chris was like, well, you only have one chance to have a junior. Because you can't name the second boy the junior. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. But he decided he wanted to name him after him. But he wanted him to be the second because his brother is CJ. They didn't want us to call him CJ. So I said, okay. But he said, it's going to be big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
We'll figure out how to navigate it.
Okay.
And I told him then, next baby, boy or girl, will be Cameron.
Okay. So Cameron was your choice.
Cameron was, you know what? Cameron was also almost Jordan.
Oh.
I was going to be the rebel to break the CEP chain.
Mom and Pa would have been like,
well, she's Robin, so she's not a CEP.
That's fair.
But Cameron was almost Jordan because he was like, she should have a J name like you. And I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. Which is, I still broke because she's Cameron Alexis and she's not.
Oh,
she's not an E. Whatever. It's interesting because yes, we thought about it.
Sure.
But it was like, we'll navigate it.
Yeah.
And as he's gotten older, especially now that he's getting...
We're navigating it.
Okay.
I think that we're in a better space now than we were, say, 5 years ago.
Okay.
Little Chris has had to learn to develop tough skin. This summer at Peach Jam, I'm actually I'm not the rowdy parent.
Okay.
I've decided I'm not cut out for AAU basketball because I'm not the rowdy parent. Like, these parents go buck wild at these games.
And you notice how I got quiet. I was like,
right.
And I'm just like, okay, like, whatever. So we were at a game over the summer. And this boy, like, he drove by Chris, scored on Chris. I know who your daddy is, nigga.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, what he say?
Correct.
Where's your mama? And can she fight?
Right. Hello.
Can she fight? But, like, little Chris was like, whatever. So next play, Chris, went
and did his thing.
Yeah. So, and he's like, Mom, it's not that serious.
But also it is.
But 5 years ago, he'd have been somewhere distraught, like disheveled and like, and we've had to explain to him, like, you're going to hear worse things. The older you get, the worse it's going to be.
Sure.
People know who you are. So either get nice.
Right.
So when they come watch you play, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or find something else to do.
Right.
And it's crazy because for a long time, I kind of wanted him to play a different sport.
Really?
To kind of carve his own path.
Sure.
Yeah. But he was really good at soccer because Chris is a lefty. So he could do, like, you know what I mean? So he was bomb at soccer. He was great at baseball. He played baseball when we were in Texas and was really good at it. He could switch hit, whole thing. But basketball just stuck to the wall. Basketball kept calling him. And so even like last year, I'm like, play 2 sports. Because these athletes, they do basketball, or whatever sport they play.
Yeah,
but like train your body to move in a different way. Like, you know what I mean? Use a different set of muscles. Like, but I tried to get him to run track, play on the school baseball team just to do something different. Like break the monotony. But he was like, no.
Basketball it is.
Yeah.
Got you.
So now, I mean, people see your name on the roster. They come to see what you're doing.
Right.
Get super nice.
What do you think shifted for him then?
I think he decided he really wanted it. I think, and kind of back to what you were saying, like about teaching them about discipline, that kind of thing. Big Chris has been on him, like, and some people would say that he's too hard on little Chris.
Okay.
And even me sometimes I'm like,
sometimes I will say that though. Yeah. Sometimes I'd be like, see, you need to go. Sit over there. But sometimes, Chris, I'll be like, all right, Chris. And I'm hard. I will cuss these boys out in a heartbeat.
But he's hard on the twins too. Like,
he's hard on the twins too. That's why I'll literally be like,
hard on all of them.
Sometimes
but he's just like, I know what they say they want.
Sure.
Like,
that's fair.
I'm living it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And he's like, I got the blueprint. Or one of many blueprints. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So he's just like, I know what it takes to get there. For them to get what they say they want. And so I will say in the past, maybe year and a half, 2 years, little Chris has fallen in love with the work.
Okay.
Ooh.
And that's been Chris's thing. Because like when I tell you COVID, I could have divorced him, thrown Chris in the trash can. They used to fight every day. And they would both come to me. And I would be sitting there like, oh my gosh.
Little Chris and Big Chris.
I'm talking about cats and dogs every day. But in hindsight, I understand it. Because little Chris is upstairs thinking he's going to play 2K and just become
the best basketball player ever.
In the room eating honey buns and, chilling. And we have a court out in the backyard. Because like, go get some shot subs. I'll do it later. You know what I mean? It was that thing. So I think what switched for Chris when he got hurt last year. Okay. So Chris he rolled his ankle, found out he has like a disorder, so to speak, that he was born with. So he was in a cast in a walking boot.
Little Chris.
For almost 12 weeks. Missed the whole
like an eternity.
Yeah, especially at that age.
And it's crazy because in that time when he couldn't play,
he missed it.
But he was able to like do certain like lift weights and stuff like that. So he actually fell in love with the work.
Nice.
Okay. And that's been Big Chris's biggest thing. Like, stack the days, like fall in love with the work, get up, lift weights, work out, do what you need to do to get better, because like what you're doing is not enough.
Right.
And so Chris is very big on taking the boys to the EYBL circuit. Like, he's like, this is where the hoopers are.
Sure.
Like, these boys you whooping up on in the valley, this is not real basketball. He was like, this is not real basketball. Like, let's go see what your competition really looks like.
Right.
And these kids, by the way, come from humble beginnings. They got something to prove.
Right.
Like, they trying to feed their families or whatever it is they got going on. He was like,
their NIL deal could be all the money they get.
Yeah, exactly. So he was like, so if you want it, you're going to have to work a little bit harder to go get it.
Yeah.
So yes, I get it. And so I take a step back. Okay. I let him handle the basketball things. I'm like, y'all just tell me where to drop him off.
I'm dying. I cannot.
You know that
leads us into a little bit about nepotism, right? Because Bronny plays with LeBron.
Yep.
So a case, again, if you live under a rock, LeBron James' son, Bronny, LeBron Jr., which they call him Bronny, was recruited to the Lakers, and now they play together. So some would be like, nepotism, that's not fair, but talk to us a little bit about like your experience with, having I guess, influence or the step ups already, like as like having your dad as an athlete?
It's interesting to me because I had another NBA player who's now a dad of a son that's coming up, that made a comment to me that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. He said to me, he's like, well, this new NBA, they want our kids. And I'm like, I'm not sure they're just giving it away. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like the NBA not just giving it away. Like, they still got to go earn it. Sure. But I do think that it's really cool to see, like, the old NBA guys who have sons that are now coming up, like the Boozer twins, all these kids, like, that are, like, dominating. I think it's really cool to see. And I think it lends itself to the players being able to teach their sons what they learn. Like, they have the blueprint. Like, do it this way. You know what I mean? So I think that where our guys had to figure it out on their own, they're able to, like, teach their sons the things. You know what I mean? So I think it's cool to see. I don't think the NBA just giving it away. Right. You know what I mean? I feel like Little Chris, for example, like, he is, like, the unofficial mascot, well, when he was little, of, like, any team we were on. He was always, like, the guy. You know what I mean? He was the kid doing the press conferences, like, whatever. So I think that the NBA knows who he is, so that if his name comes across something, they're gonna you know what I mean? But I don't think they'll tune in, for sure. Yeah, but I don't think it's like let's drive Tim. Right. I don't think automatic. I feel like that's insulting, actually, to the NBA as a whole, as an organization. You know what I mean?
You still have to work for it.
You still got to work for it
when it's all said and done.
Absolutely.
So you weren't big basketball. You're coming into it, especially with the kids playing and all of that. So if you were to give, I don't want to say advice, but if you were speaking to moms that are kind of like, listen,
right, do you?
Okay, sports, but their kids are heavy in it. You know, we're in that thick of things, because that like 3rd to like 8th grade window in particular is when it really starts to kind of ramp up, and and you kind of learn if they're serious or not, and all that. What would you say to fellow moms or parents, period, that their kid is really starting to kind of get into it? Sports might not be their jam, but how can they support their kids through kind of that journey?
I think it's just the support. Cameron is a perfect example. Okay. This child has played every sport. We've touched them all. Gymnastics, dance, tennis, soccer, softball, like all of them. Yep. Volleyball is the new thing now.
Okay.
And it's crazy because she's remotely good at all of them.
Okay.
It's just naturally athletic. And I will say was never interested in sports really until about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Like, she was never like basketball, like, she wouldn't even watch the games. Like, she wouldn't even know who won when the game was over. Like, Cameron never gave two shits about basketball. And then one day it just
hit her.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, hit her. Cam is good at basketball. She was just at the camp. Yeah.
The difference is that Chris wants to go to the NBA. Like, Chris is work. You know what I mean? Cameron is like relatively indifferent. Like, she knows that she's good. It's fun for her. She likes the praise because she is pretty good. So she'll work just hard enough
for the compliment.
But Cameron ain't doing no extra shit. And that's what Chris has been on her about now, because she's at a crossroads because she's in 7th grade. And like, as the kids get older, they're going to get better. So you're going to have to decide, are you going to work to keep up with them or surpass them? Or you just are doing it for fun because you're trying to play at the YMCA during lunch hour? Like, what is your, you know what I mean? So she's having to make a decision now.
Sure.
Do you want to do the extra work? So she's still trying to figure it out.
Okay.
But as her parent, supportive of whatever she decides, I think that the biggest thing for me is you have to work hard at something.
Okay.
Whether it's a sport, whether it's art, whether it's you want to be a scholar and get an academic scholarship, like whatever it is, you have to work hard at something.
Sure.
Right.
And that's just kind of like re-emphasizing like the discipline. Like, you have to find it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think that supporting them I think sports is very important. It teaches so many lessons, like teamwork and discipline and just all the things.
Patience, the whole night.
Patience is a big one.
Yeah.
You kind of just got to do it. Especially if they're wanting, also it keeps them out of trouble.
Yeah.
Like it, you know, there's so many things. I think sports is important. And if they're into it,
go for it.
Okay.
Because, oh, by the way, it can take you cool places. Like, we've traveled all over.
Sure.
You know, sometimes you're in some random podunk town.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're like, why am I here? But sometimes we've gone some really cool places as well. So I think it's just, it can be a family. Like, as a vehicle, as you're supporting them, like, you can get to do and see cool things too. So
yeah, get you college, pays for things. Yeah.
If she were to decide that she wants to just do it kind of more on a recreational standpoint, then would you kind of allow her to just kind of keep doing it all the way through high school?
Absolutely.
And how would you recommend for parents and for the both of you to because we've talked a lot in our little parenting 101 segments about kind of helping your kids find the right programs that fit their needs, and whatnot. So from your experience with both kids, as you've put them in various programs, especially with them trying different sports and all of that, how have you kind of gone about your approach of courting, date, kind of figuring out what the right type of coach or parent,
Word of mouth
program?
Word of mouth is big. And I think it also depends on where you live.
Okay.
So like when we were in Texas, for example, like club soccer was really big.
Okay.
So it's really easy to find Chris a club team, but also figuring out like what's close to you, because who wants to drive 45 minutes to and from practice every day? You know what I mean? So I think finding a good fit. Still struggling with that right now with Cameron with basketball.
Okay.
Like girls basketball at her age is very hard to find. Good girls basketball.
Good girls. I was going to say.
Good girls basketball is very hard to find. So she was on a team before where like half the girls couldn't really dribble. You know what I mean? And Cam was like out there running circles around it. So want her to still play competitively. Yeah. So I've since put her on a boys team. Okay. And she hates it. Well, she likes it now. I think initially she was nervous because, again, she's in 7th grade. So, like, the boys like the girls. And, like, it was uncomfortable for her in the beginning. Yeah. But now, like, it's funny because she...
Well, run circles around them.
But it's also funny because they wouldn't pass her the ball at first. That's not nice. She would get the rebound and put it back up. Right. And she started creating her own shots. So now, like, they'll pass her the ball. They play as a team. But before, they would not pass my girl the ball. She was like, I guess she did. Okay.
Yeah.
She go grab it off the rim and, make her own shot. She gets her FGAs up, okay? She is throwing that ball up there.
I know that's right. Okay. Okay. Field goal attempts is what FGA means, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay. So what about if you are on a program but the coach sucks? Like, how do you navigate?
Been there.
Yeah, like where the coach is like, you're like, oh, my.
I think that that is also a delicate balance, because a valuable lesson I try to teach the kids in life, there's going to be coaches, teachers, your boss, your coworkers that you're not going to get along with, that you don't agree with, that you don't like, but you're going to have to figure it out. If there's no harm being done, let's roll with it. You know what I mean? So I think that, within reason.
Within reason, of course.
Within reason. Yes. But I think it's a valuable lesson in itself as well. Sure. Like, it'll be okay. It's funny because the team that she's on, it's one of those teams where the coaches like hoot and holler and yell and scream and curse and cuss and fuss, And some of the parents are like, I'm like, child, my kids hear worse stuff at home. So,
are you okay with that?
It works for me. Yeah.
They hear worse at home.
Yeah.
So,
it's cool. You got to know your kid.
She's like, as long as she's not directing it at me, it's fine. I said...
Okay, girl.
Right. Fair, I think.
Right. Like, okay.
Oh, I love it. Awesome. Speaking of like being kind of, because you played sports. You played softball.
I played softball. I ran track.
Right. Oh. So you picked up basketball. But if neither one of your kids, this is hypothetical, neither one of your kids wanted to play any sports, like as both athletes, both you and Chris as athletes, like walk me through maybe that kind of like journey, that assumption through like dealing with your kids not wanting to do essentially what you feel like.
I can't even imagine that.
Okay.
Both my kids are very active and athletic. They're just generally just athletic. Cameron is funny because one of our friends calls her Quadzilla. Like, Cameron is built like a gymnast.
She's got legs.
Like, she is
she's tall. She leans.
She's too tall to be a gymnast. Yeah. Depends on who you ask.
Right.
But she, I can even imagine them not playing sport in some capacity.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be competitive sport, but I could imagine them like as little kids, like, again, being able to socialize and run around on the little league field. Cameron she played t-ball because Chris was playing baseball. It was easy to put them in the same sport.
Right.
So I put her in t-ball. She was all of 3. She played 1.5 games and decided she was done with it. Because at that age, it's like magnet ball. All the kids just run to the ball.
Right.
Some little boy took the ball out of her glove and she said, I don't want to do this anymore.
No way. Someone took it out of her glove.
Because, at that age, at 3 years old, they all want the ball. Yeah, so he took it out of her glove, and she was like, this is dumb.
She's like, I don't do this anymore.
Right. She was like, are you ready to move on? Because this is...
little Chris finished the game for her. She wouldn't finish the game. And so... But all that to say, like, it's cool to get a routine. Like, she has practice. Has to show up and be on time for something. I think those things are important.
Yeah.
So just as their kids, of course, don't force them to do it. When they tell you, I hate this, I don't do it anymore, then of course you listen. But I think it's important to at least introduce sports to them because it's, it's like, again, so many valuable lessons to be taught there.
Yeah.
Are they competitive with each other?
Yes.
Yes. They get along. They're so cute.
They get along very well until they don't. Chris is like the typical older brother.
I was going to say, Chris is ultimate older brother.
Okay.
On purpose.
Okay.
But yeah, they get along really well. They fight one day, and also I'm an only child. So like the sibling dynamic, I'm like, are y'all for
She's
real
like,
right
Brittany,
now?
I want to worry about. She's always like, why are they always arguing?
I'm like, girl, that's normal.
They had a full-on wrestling match one day, and I was just sitting there like,
what
is this?
Nobody's crying. So I guess
nothing's broken.
Fine, I guess.
Right. You're like, I'm just gonna move on to the next room. This is weird.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And Chris is not an only child. He has his older brother, CJ, right? And they started off both playing basketball.
They played all the sports,
but little Chris became like better than his older brother in basketball.
We know what's interesting. CJ was always like the basketball phenom.
Okay.
Chris was CJ's little brother throughout high school, even through college.
That's how people knew him.
Yeah, he was CJ's little brother.
Okay.
CJ had a knee injury in college, but I do think that if not for that, he would have gone on to play, even if not in the NBA, he would have played professionally in some capacity because he was really good. And so he's such a student of the game. He's so smart, and even now, he knows the game inside, outside, upside down.
Sure. Do you go to him for all right, now tell me about what's happening?
I call him for everything.
You have to be astute to the trades and now that Chris is on,
and he's Chris's business manager. Okay. So most things we're all talking about together as a family. Even with little Chris, in the AAU circle, because he runs he's
EYBL?
With the EYBL with the grassroots program. So he's always aware of the things. And so if there's a new team or a new coach or a new whatever, he's usually the first person I go to ask. Hey, what's T?
Right. Yeah,
what's
we doing?
What they look out for?
Yep.
So, CJ he's a very valuable resource in my house. And it's funny because him and little Chris are super close, which I love to watch. The other day I was just talking about this. I love to watch them together. But they fight like cats and dogs. But CJ is very hard. He might be harder on little Chris than big Chris.
No, really?
He's very hard on little Chris.
Okay.
And Chris used to be devastated. He used to cry. I just hate CJ. He's so mean to me, whatever. But now, I think he understands. And so they have so much respect for each other. So he calls him for everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They're super, super close.
I love that.
That's awesome.
So Chris has talked about retiring.
To who?
I don't know. Is this not a...
No, no, it's not a secret.
Okay.
Chris has been playing one more year for the past 3 years.
Okay. Okay. Because it's always this is my one more year.
I can play one more year.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
But if he comes home, right? There's obviously it's a season, so when, in my experience, when they came home after the season, try to interject or when they try to parent from another state or distance, talk to our audience a little bit about the kind of do's, the don'ts, the yes, this is normal, the pros, the cons, the no, I get it. I want to kill him too.
It is an interesting dynamic. Chris comes from a 2-parent household, a very strong father figure. His dad is amazing as well. So he always wanted to be the type of dad to his kids that Charles was to him. With the job that he has, he can't be there for all the things because especially now, this is our 6th season separate. Which is crazy. It went by fast, but so he's not able to be there for the active parenting. He's not able to be there for the games and the practices, those conversations that happen in the car on the way home. He's not able, it kills him. So it's been really hard. We have to be very intentional about making sure he feels involved. So the active parenting part is hard. When things happen in real time, you have to address it right then. And then I usually have to recap him later.
Okay.
And also life happens. Sometimes I might forget to tell him something happened.
Right.
Oh, and God forbid it comes up days later. He'd be like,
what happened?
What?
Yeah, no one cares.
God. You know what I mean? So I have to be very intentional to keep him involved. Because I don't ever want to take away the parenting part for him because that's so important to him. It's a big part of who he is.
Got it.
I think that's the hardest thing for him playing away from home is not being able to be with the kids. So every morning we talk on the way to school. And which is hard this year because of the time difference.
Right.
Because we're on our way to school at 8. He's already at practice.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to find that time, but we make it work.
I love that.
But when he comes home, it's crazy because I'm very regimented, right?
Okay.
And so he comes home, he disrupts the natural order sometimes, but I just let it happen.
Just get out.
I just let it happen.
Okay.
So I mean, when they were younger, it was a kind of a big deal. They missed their bedtime or whatever. But now it's cool,
they'll be all right.
Because Chris is also the practical joker, which Cameron took from him. Cameron loves to play a prank.
Oh, that's
so
cute.
They have their own special, and they all know, don't play with me. I'm not the pranker. Don't prank me. I'm not doing the practical jokes.
Right. I'm not going to keep you.
They're all aware. Do not play with me.
That's hilarious.
And maybe that's the only child thing. Like, I never had to deal with that growing up. I don't jump out and scare me because I might shoot you. Like, just leave me out of it. Just don't do it. But they have their own very special type of relationship.
Sure.
And so they have their own little personal, like private jokes and all the things. And so, I don't know. I let the chaos happen.
Yeah.
Within reason.
Is he become the, like, you know, we have like a funny parent, like kind
good
of cool
cop, bad
parent.
cop.
I think it depends on the situation.
Okay.
Chris is definitely, and he will say this, and I've never really admitted this out loud. He's more of the disciplinarian than I am.
Okay.
Oh, really?
I mean, my kids, I feel like I've created a very, like, good balance between, like, don't play with me, but we can also have a good time.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we laugh, we joke, you know what I mean? And they know the boundaries.
Sure.
So as soon as you cross that line, now we got a box.
We got a super problem.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Chris is definitely more of the disciplinarian than I am, to the point where sometimes he's come to me, he's like, yo, like, I don't want to be the bad parent today.
Right. He's like, you don't want to just
he was like, can you help? I don't want to be the bad parent every time, which I get. You know what I mean? So we try very hard to keep that communication open as well.
Sure.
So yeah, it's an ongoing figuring it out.
Because
as they get older, the things that become problematic change.
Sure.
You know what I mean? We were talking earlier, like people say, oh, once the kids get older, it's so much easier. It's not. It's the things that are hard change.
I feel like, especially not in this climate, in this world that we're in.
The things that are hard change. It does not get easier. It's just different. So I don't have the sleepless nights anymore. Well, also they reintroduce now that they're out at parties and they don't come home. You know what I mean? So you get back to the sleepless nights when they get older. But like, it's just different. Trying to manage the social media and manage let's be real, like the drug use and the things that their parents, which I do, going back to why sports is important, keeps them out of trouble. And I was so kind of grateful that he made the varsity basketball team this year because he's with a group of like-minded boys, men, young men. They all have the same goal. They hold each other accountable. So like nobody's doing real bonehead stuff because, you know what I mean? They have a goal. So I think that was very important because he had gotten into some trouble last year. Like, stupid stuff, typical 14-year-old boy stuff. But like he had some bonehead friends and was doing silly stuff. So I think it was important. I'm glad that he has these other boys, and they're older. Of course, the high school team, there's freshmen, there's seniors, and everything in between. So he's able to like see the role models in the older guys and like, you know,
distinguish where he wants to be.
Which I imagine is equally as important when you're thinking about picking the right high school for your kid to go to and the right kind of school to go to. You know what I mean?
Because me and Chris are very kind of keen on just some of the kids like hop around from school to school based on who's the coach and based on like the plan. And Chris is like, get nice.
Right.
It don't matter who the coach is. You know what I mean? Go play. You know what I mean? So, and I think because also having two kids who are very different.
Sure.
Yes, Cameron plays sports, but they have different needs.
Sure.
Which is why we came to the school that we're at now, because it had something for both of them. I think they both felt, you know, a school that they could both go to. Because what I don't want to do is the separate drop-offs. Because who is doing that?
Ain't nobody got time.
Yes.
And we in Southern California,
traffic is ridiculous. And he needs to be there at 8. You're like, well, then who's going to be on time?
Somebody's going to be late.
One of y'all asked.
You know what I mean?
So
So I think that where we are now, we're happy. I mean, again, just go play.
Yeah.
Go play basketball.
Yes.
But also like learn some other stuff too, because
again, maybe
basketball might not work out. Find something that you might love to steel drums. Like whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like figure it out.
As they get older, do you think that like how do you deal, because we've actually talked about this before, when you have the kids, you know, they want to do the thing and it's like you want to support them, but as they get older there has to be that time where you're kind of like, baby, this may not be your jam.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When their expectations start to get you know, or their goals get really lofty and you don't want to don't ever be dream killers. But how do you kind of manage expectations around what they're doing?
I think it's a matter of redirecting the energy. Like, for example, and this is not my story, but just give an example, like the tryouts.
Sure.
Do you make the JV or the varsity team? You know what I mean? And trying to manage the expectations, because I'm like, oh, well, maybe you don't make the varsity team, you make JV and give yourself time to improve. You know what I mean? Or to build your confidence or whatever that looks like. Because we're even still having a conversation with Chris about having him kind of go back and forth. Because what I don't want you to do is you're in the varsity team, but I don't want you sitting on the bench either.
Correct. What's the
point?
point?
That's still you not doing it good. So,
I
mean, he gets to play, but I also know there's, you know, it happens.
You'll see,
But he's just, you know, of course, all his friends, again, he reclassifies, all his friends are on varsity. So he wants to see those friends and play with those friends. And I get that.
Sure.
But everything's not for everybody. I tell my kids that at least once a day.
I know that's right.
Everything is not for everybody.
I know that's right.
So I think it's just, so I think that, don't be a dream killer, but let's be realistic. Sure. Let's redirect this energy somewhere else.
Sure.
You start making them try other things. You're like,
let's try this.
They wake up, they got a whole soccer set.
You have soccer tryouts.
Wild. Right. Yeah, exactly. See you there 4 p.m.
Right.
Or even this past summer, I put Cam in art camp.
Nice. Yeah.
Yes. First of all, get off the iPad. But also, Cameron is very artistic. She draws really, really well.
So let's
nurture this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So find something else to do.
I like that.
So yeah.
Do you, with their schedules picking up from a sports standpoint, how do you ensure that they're still getting to just be kids? Because I know we talk a lot about helping parents really make sure that they're not just, we don't want them to look back and they've missed their whole childhood, especially because now sports are all year round. You know what I mean? When we grew up, it was seasons and times.
I just had this conversation with a mom the other day because we were trying to plan Thanksgiving. Because basketball is a winter sport. When we were in school, basketball maybe started in December, maybe December or January. After Christmas break, it was January, February.
Yeah.
Chris been playing varsity basketball since June. Correct. I don't really know. We've been to 17 different tournaments, which is great. He loves to play. So, so he's not unhappy, but it's when do we have to, I'm trying to plan something for Thanksgiving. So, Coach, what we doing?
What's up?
Yes.
Because but basketball is a year-round sport now.
Yes. And it's a priority, right? It's a priority. To your point. You're well, he has a game on such and such and such and such. So therefore, you plan around such and such
high
and
school
such
basketball
team. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I forgot your question.
In terms of making sure that they still get to
normal,
to be kids.
Yeah.
And the kids have a social calendar. Somebody's having a party because the kids that are not athletes, they're hanging out.
They're still hanging.
They're hanging out. So there's a party every Friday and Saturday, and maybe even Sunday. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You make the time.
Okay.
We kind of just Tetris it all in there together.
Sure.
Let them go to amusement parks or take some time off.
Absolutely. Or have a mental health day.
Oof, that's a big one.
Yes.
Yeah, I had to learn that because oftentimes the boys will be like, we need a rest day. And I'd be like, a rest day?
You ain't doing
what in the shit did you do to deserve a rest day? You just had practice, chill.
Yeah.
Or I'll be like, no, because in 2 days you could have a rest day. It's a natural day off. And I had to stop doing that. I had to be like, okay, G, let's take it down. They work hard.
Give them a minute.
Yeah.
And I think even for me, having them to also carve out time for them to see their dad.
Oh, yeah.
So that's another dimension that I have to navigate.
Some people have to, it doesn't have to be an athlete, right? Derek and I were just talking about this too, because he saw the questions. He's like, I love this question because it doesn't have to be an athlete. A parent could be a CEO or a parent could just be a pilot. They can
whatever it is.
Traveling nurse. How do you navigate that balance between being the, primary, but also making sure that your other partner is a priority?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's tough because the kid also, I think it's tough as the kids are older, they have their social lives and they don't want to miss that party. They don't want to miss whatever. I remember, so for example, the Spurs home opener was the weekend of the 25th. I told my kids a month before, I don't care what y'all got.
Right.
You're going to miss it.
Right.
We're going to San Antonio. You have to go. Because they hadn't seen their dad in a month and a half.
Yeah.
We have to go to San Antonio.
Yeah.
I don't care what you have.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. Until the week before came and Chris got that basketball schedule and they were playing Harvard Westlake. And he was like,
but.
And it was crazy because Big Chris was like, let him stay. And I'm like, no.
I said.
Because I told him a month ago. I don't care what. Even Cameron missed Zuri's her best friend's birthday party.
Wow.
And so and it's crazy, but Zuri was, of course, Zuri understood. Yeah. So they had their own little friend moments the next week.
Yeah.
But
that's tough though.
But just trying to carve out that time. And Chris's coach is actually very understanding of it. He has been very graceful with that.
Sure.
I just realized I didn't have my earrings on. I just realized I forgot my earrings.
Oh, listen, I got my
earrings
start over.
3 hours in.
Right. Exactly. She's like, start over. This is crazy.
I forgot earrings too. So here we are.
But his coach has been very graceful with it and understanding. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because also when we go to San Antonio, Chris is at the gym. He's at the facility. He's getting shots up. He's still working because his daddy gonna make sure he is doing some work. Okay?
You ain't just coming here hanging.
Right. He's like, that's weird. You thought it was you
thought it was
had
vacation?
A break? Yeah. He's like crazy.
Do you have a not go for so long kind of thing that you try to stay within without seeing?
For me?
Yeah. Or both?
Or for the kid?
Yeah.
I definitely see him more often than the kids do.
Sure.
Because they have school and I try to keep them from missing school more than they have to. They have their sports and their friends. So I usually zip in and out.
Yeah.
Like for Thanksgiving, I have to plan ahead. The thing is, the beauty of it is I get the schedule.
Yeah, ahead.
In August. So in August, I know where he's going to be every day for the next 9 months.
Sure.
So we plan ahead. Christmas is whooping my ass this year because the Spurs play the Knicks on Christmas Day.
Oh, in New York?
In New York.
Oh.
And they play the Nets on the 27th. So they're going to be in New York for a whole week.
Okay.
And I'm like, Christmas in New York?
Right.
Yes, which is
you
fun.
get a season of snow.
Yes.
Until I got the high school basketball
Correct.
schedule.
Little Chris got a tournament. You're like,
correct.
So I guess we'll be in Palm Springs.
So I was like, okay. So we're, again, compromised. So we'll go to New York. And if he got practice, he's going to miss it. Because, you know what I mean? So we'll go for the Christmas Day game. And then him and I will leave and come back here because the tournament starts the next day. And my daughter will stay with my mom or whatever. But
yeah. Woo, that's tough.
You were like, I got the schedule. I was like, you really? Until
and it was like, well, just kidding.
I was like, no, welcome back to mommy.
Right, correct. All the AAU coaches were like, oh, you thought? Oh, that's weird.
And it's funny because the tournament like after Christmas and then it's one right after the New Year. There's like 2 days in between. So I'm like,
right. So you can't go anywhere. You can't go anywhere. You can't plan nothing.
Like I'm a slave to basketball.
Yes. Yeah. Are you now fluent in basketball?
Ish.
Okay.
I know a lot.
Okay.
Chris gets so mad at me when I ask him questions. He was like, how do you not know that? And I be like, I promise I was watching. But there's still certain things about the game I just don't understand. Like watching the game, when people are like calling for screens, I'm watching the ball. Whatever's going on over here, I don't know what's going on over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like running plays and so and so.
If you ain't got the ball in your hand,
I don't know.
I don't know what you're doing
that
over there.
That is hilarious.
Right, because I've been watching it for over 20 years at this point. It's like, how do I not understand?
And with little Chris and Cam. Cam.
Is there something about the game that you recently learned or figured out that you was like, oh shit, that's crazy. That's what that means?
Let me tell you a funny story. Cameron had a game 2 weeks ago, and I'm recording because I'll try to send videos to Chris or whatever. And but what I'm looking at as I'm watching her is as if she's playing defense on offense. Like she missed the ball. Like her team, she was setting a screen.
Okay.
And I'm like, why are you playing defense on offense? Chris was like, you're supposed to set. How do you not know that? And I was like,
because she was setting a screen.
So she missed it. Her teammate passed her the ball, so it was a turnover. And I'm like, but why are you playing defense? Her back was to the ball, and Chris was like, I said, you know what? I'm gonna just record the videos and I'm gonna just keep my comments to myself.
Yeah, exactly. And just send them to you and you just watch them.
Chris be sick of me.
I am dying.
I know the vast majority of what I need to know.
Okay.
You know.
What do you feel like is a number one need to know if he whoever is just learning about basketball and you're like, at least know this.
Right. Of your first off top.
Yeah.
A travel.
Oh, okay. That's good.
I feel like because the travel get real tricky sometimes.
Yes.
Okay.
Especially with the Euro stuff.
Generally speaking, what does travel mean?
When you take too many steps without dribbling the ball.
Okay.
Yay.
All right. Y'all done learned.
Basketball 101.
That is your basketball 101 for today. If they have the ball and they are moving more than 1 to 2 steps, then they have traveled.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Some players do it more often and don't get calls. We are going to leave those. We're going to leave that to the next
Listen,
episode.
the NBA don't know what a travel is.
They do not.
These referees are
I know. We were like, they need to do a whole new referee school because referees.
I learned something. I don't know how true this is, but the other day I learned that a lot of the referees are former cops.
No way, really?
I'm not sure. I have to do some research on it, but somebody told me a couple of days ago. Like a lot of the referees are former police officers.
I feel like because they have problems with authority.
Like
when the players come up to them and challenge, I feel like they get really
I don't know how true this is, so don't quote me.
Right.
I have to do more. But somebody just
right.
Yeah, I have to do some more research. Somebody told me that. I thought that was interesting.
I've definitely going to look that up for us. Yeah, we're going to talk about that because I'm going to figure that out.
There's a correlation there.
There is. Right.
Absolutely.
Problems with authority, I'm telling you. Well, anywho. Well, thank you, my love. This has been awesome.
It's been wonderful. Can you, so for your stationery and all the things, is there a place where people can find it?
Curated by AlexisP.com.
Curated by AlexisP.com.
We are e-commerce.
Nice. You have Instagram.
We have an Instagram. This content's a little stale right now. And that's again, social media, I struggle with it because I'm not a content creator. So I'm really trying to figure out how to sell this product without
content creator
selling the product because it's ironic.
Yeah.
I'm not a salesperson.
Yeah.
So how I created a sales-based business is wild.
Yeah. I get that,
but it's really great though.
I'm working on finding somebody who can do it for me.
There you go. Well, listen.
So just bear with me. My content's a little stale. Working on it.
But it's good. It's good stuff.
Fabulous.
Yeah,
it
so
is
y'all
pretty.
make sure y'all check
it
it
is
out.
very
It's
pretty.
just
There's this
order
leather.
yours.
I gotta figure out how to sell it.
Like yellow leather bounded.
That's the party planner.
That's the one I have because I'm right behind
That's
her
what I need,
event.
actually.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty fabulous.
Yeah.
It comes in handy.
I appreciate it.
Y'all make sure
have
y'all
to,
order it.
Yeah, and send us pictures and do things so we can
post
insert.
and do the whole thing or whatnot.
Yes.
We really appreciate having
Yeah.
you.
No, thank you for having us. So fun.
We always end with the
Oh, yeah. Okay. So we want you to state your claim real quick.
Yes.
So favorite NFL team?
I don't have one.
what?
Oh.
I've always liked players. Like
Oh, we
used
talked
to
about
love.
following
I used to
players.
love Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was my guy.
Really? How did you get on Peyton?
I don't know. I've always loved
Fair.
Peyton Manning, and then he
Fair.
retired. I was kind of like,
Right.
Like I cheer for the Steelers because of my dad.
Okay.
Chris, their whole family, they're all Cowboy fans. So like I watch.
Yeah.
Do
Do you have a favorite NFL player right now?
I really like Lamar Jackson.
Yes. Yeah. I like Lamar.
Interesting.
Yeah. But it really it depends. Literally, two teams, who's playing, who ought to win. Like that's kind of how it is. Like I don't really have a favorite team.
Got it. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. Obviously, I'm assuming you root for whatever team your husband is playing on.
Absolutely. Go team.
Go team.
Go
Right.
team.
Go NBA.
Go team. Do you do any other sports? Are you a fan of any other major sports?
I play softball, so I do like baseball.
Okay.
Baseball for me is exciting in person.
Okay.
Yes,
I can watch on TV during playoffs. Like playoffs is exciting, but like the 144 games they play or 65 how many games they play,
Yeah, it's too much.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
If I'm there, like it's so exciting. But like on TV, I'm on a random like June 27th. I'm not watching baseball on
Not
TV.
happening.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But like playoffs is exciting.
Yeah.
I do like baseball.
Do you have a team?
No, I don't. I like the Dodgers. I will say it's a funny story. I like the Dodgers a lot.
Okay.
When we first came here to play, of course, I think generally speaking, like Dodger fans are Laker fans.
For sure.
So they invited Chris to throw out the first pitch.
Oh, boy.
They booed him so bad.
Yes, they did.
And it was funny because little Chris was like 3 or 4. He's like, Dad, why are they booing? He was so concerned and distraught.
Right.
And it's funny because Chris was like, well, fuck y'all too then. But
Pretty much.
we've been here for 13 years now. Of course, I've come to love the Dodgers. Him and Clayton Kershaw were close when Matt Kemp played there. Like we were all like, you know what I mean? So we've come to love the Dodgers. They're a great organization.
Yes.
So if I had to pick one,
it would be Dodgers.
it would be the Dodgers.
Yeah.
But growing up, it was the Braves because that was the closest team to us.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
Yes.
Yeah.
as it stands, the Dodgers. I will say though, when we were in Houston, it was funny because the Astros won the World Series, which I know it's a lot of red tape there.
No. When they cheated.
Yeah, it's a lot of red tape there, but it was an exciting time.
Fair.
Yes,
You know.
and to be there in the city.
And the funniest thing, so little Chris loves baseball, and he like more than I realized. So we got to Houston, went to a game again. Chris got the first pitch, whatever. And Chris is like, Mom, it's Joe's Altuve. I'm like, who the fuck? Oh, his name is Jose.
Come on,
Joe's Altuve. He was like, Chris was in what, 3rd, 4th grade? It's Joe's Altuve. And I'm like, Joe, his name is Jose.
He is now Joe's.
But he was
I will
Chris's
call him
favorite
Joe's
player.
forever.
Now Joe's.
He was Chris's favorite player. And I didn't even know he knew who that was.
Sure,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But
Yeah, that always gets me
kids.
crazy. Even now that boys who have not watched a game,
They know
seen it,
everybody and everything.
Yeah.
they will recite the shit
But
out
even
of the game.
it's the college sports for me. So confession, I do not like college football. Is like watching paint dry. I cannot watch college football. I don't know what it is. It's so Saturday mornings just piss me off. Because that's all that's on TV because there's 700 teams and it's football on all day from D1 down to D3. And I'm like,
that's fair. Yeah. So
I don't know what it is about, but I love the NFL. It's just the college football. I just can't get into it. I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah.
And same for basketball, college basketball?
If I know somebody that's playing, I think it's different with us, like having the grassroots program.
Sure.
A lot of those kids, so you know a lot of the kids
yeah.
that play, so it's easier to watch and like root for certain teams.
Do you keep up with the kids?
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. What about WNBA?
I do like WNBA.
Okay.
Especially now having a daughter who plays.
Yes. Yeah.
And I love the love they're finally getting.
Yes.
I think the game is, of course, the games have always been exciting, but they're getting like the love.
Yes.
So it's great to watch.
It's been cool to see the men support it too. I know Chris is a big supporter of the WNBA and all that stuff. I think it's important. I'd imagine kind of being in around that space, they understand the importance of them lending their voice and their light to the WNBA. So it's been really cool to kind of see them help amplify it as well.
Yeah, tune in.
But they're finally getting their flowers. I love it.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, true story.
What is your go-to, this is mom time, fuck off everybody?
Like self-care moment?
Jigsaw puzzle.
Really?
What?
Like, complete silence. Maybe music in the background. It just depends on how I'm feeling.
Sure.
But that's how I decompress.
Really?
A jigsaw puzzle.
Like how large? How many pieces?
I just finished a 2,000-piece puzzle today.
Oh.
How long does that take you? I need to, what?
I mean, it depends. Sometimes like life is super busy and it's sits on my dining room table for weeks, months. But this one I did in about 3 weeks.
Really?
Yeah. And my mom comes over and she'll like, mess around with it. I think she actually finished it this morning. She's like, do you want to do the last piece? I was like, Mom, you got it.
Right, exactly. You're already here now.
Like, do the honor. Oh, that's cool.
But I love a jigsaw puzzle. It's literally how I decompress. Glass of wine, jigsaw puzzle.
And just go.
Everybody be quiet.
I love that. Well, cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Yes.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you,
girl. This is real cheers. Cheers. I don't know how it tastes now. Sorry.
Oh no, it's still good. All right, y'all. Well, this was another episode of Sportsing. We didn't even introduce ourselves, but I'm your host, Erica. Y'all know that.
Yeah,
that's Gloria.
That's Gloria. I love
exactly.
it.
That's Gloria over there. Make sure that you guys like, subscribe, share, listen on all of the platforms where you get your podcasts and YouTube and all the things. Follow us on social media. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And we'll be back with more next week.
Till next time, guys. Keep sportsing. And thank you to our amazing guest and friend.
This was great. Thank you. I appreciate the conversation.
I appreciate you.
Very organic, very,
Yes.
Yes, real friendship.
Yes,
real friendship. Absolutely.
Y'all have a good one.
All right. Bye.